This is a series for financial advisors. We offer easy-to-implement marketing and practice management advice. This is the Stephen and Kevin Show.
Welcome to episode number 125 of the Stephen and Kevin Show. I am Stephen Boswell. This is the future of advisor leadership with our good friends at & Partners. Today, we're joined by three leaders who have shaped some of the largest organizations in our industry. And they're now building something entirely new and very special at & Partners. David Kowach brings more than 3 decades of leadership experience, including his time of president and CEO of Wells Fargo Advisors, where he oversaw trillions in client assets and thousands of advisors. Kristi Mitchem has spent her career operating at the highest levels of global asset management, including CEO roles at BMO Global Asset Management and Wells Fargo Asset Management. And John Alexander led one of the country's largest branch systems at Wells Fargo Advisors, giving him a deep understanding of how advisors work, grow, and serve their clients. Together, they have founded & Partners, who in a very short period of time have added over 100 teams and $50 billion in assets. It's truly a remarkable growth story. We've been fortunate to see it up close and personal as we've collaborated with & Partners to support these incoming advisors with branding, websites, and other digital marketing services. David, Kristi, John, welcome to the Stephen and Kevin Show.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks for having us.
David, I remember hearing your name very early in my work with Oxley. I started here like 20 years ago, and I remember Matt Oxley talking about David Kowach. I'm curious for you, what was your first, when did you first hear about Oxley?
We started working with Oxley in 2003.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
After the Pru acquisition by what then was probably Wachovia Securities. The names have changed so many times on the business card, but it's interesting because I'll never forget. Matt used to say all the time, "It's not about your brochure; it's about your approach with clients." And today the business has just changed so much in terms of how you can actually leverage marketing and how you can leverage technology in new ways that I think back then we could never have anticipated.
Yeah, I don't think Matt anticipated it either.
I know, that's true.
No, and you know what's funny is we talked about this recently, what an advocate he was for digital marketing. So on one hand, it was like, you can't buy your way to success with brochures or fancy collateral materials, so don't waste your time and money. But on the other hand, hey, maybe you can get a lot more exposure, with this up and coming thing called the internet.
He was the beginning for us of our whole business development function. We grew largely through acquisition. From the time I joined the firm in 1992, we had 500 advisors. We grew it to 15,000 advisors over a 25-year period of time. Largely focused on acquisitions of regionally based family-owned companies. The one exception that happened to be the Pru, where they had struggled over the years to make money in that business. It was really one of the first deals. I guess we did ever.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was an amazing deal. I think Matt had it. What Matt was trying to say at the time was like 100% true at the time. It's like, it's even more true now. And it was all about leverage, right? You can't mail somebody a kiss, but you can use things like digital media as leverage to supplement all the hard work that you put in yourself. And I think he didn't want people to have any illusions that one could take the place of the other, right?
So the crazy experience in my mind was we went at that point with Matt and what was back then called our Premier Advisors Program, from focusing largely on acquisition to focusing, once you actually got to the firm, how do we actually improve productivity and grow it to the next level? And which kind of comes full circle to what we're doing today, because now we're hiring only the best advisors who have got the most process. And I think that's why Oxley has been such a popular partner for us as a company, because of your capabilities and how you can step in and support our advisors who are already great at what they do.
Well, that's what makes it easy, is being able to amplify what people are doing in real life that's really good and special, and helping get the word out there about it. Kristi, I'm curious from your perspective, you all have come so far, so fast at & Partners. Where are you today relative to where you started?
I mean, we're leaps and bounds. We started at zero, so it would be hard for us not to have made significant progress from where we started. But the truth is that I think that we have far outpaced what were even very ambitious plans for the firm. We have recruited advisors with over $50 billion in T12 AUM, and that puts us at about kind of halfway towards our 5-year aspiration in just 2 full years. So the progress has been exciting, ahead of plan, but we think there's lots more good stuff to come.
I've heard you all say something that you'd like to build a firm that feels small, but that operates with scale. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, I'll take that, I guess. I think of it, this is silly, but I think of it like Goldilocks. Like we have a lot of experience, as David said, at a smaller firm growing into a huge firm. And there are advantages and disadvantages to everything. So what we're trying to find is the right balance between, small enough to be able to start with yes.
Respond in the same minute.
Respond in the same minute. That's our standard, is our response time is to be in the same minute. But then big enough so that you can produce, that you have all the tools you need for clients. And I would say Kristi in particular has been instrumental in making us relevant to clients all the way up the wealth spectrum. And then also to produce financial results for our partners, because all of our advisors are meaningful equity partners. And so I think of it as Goldilocks, like big enough to produce great results and then small enough to be able to be boutique-y and bespoke for people. And I think, I'm really confident that that's where we're going to get to. I think that's probably 160, 170 financial advisor teams. That's a firm that, 3 or 4 years from now is doing $1 billion in top line. So I feel like that's the sweet spot.
And I think some of our growth to date has been driven by the fact that we had the ability to build a firm and do it our way, because we didn't focus on taking private equity money. We used our experience doing those mergers back in 1992 through 2016. We used all of that experience in doing mergers, in knowing, hey, these are the things that you did right when you did that merger, that integration. These are the things you did wrong. I think we used that experience to make sure that we maintained control of a employee-owned broker-dealer.
Yeah.
And that is a little bit yesteryear in terms of design, but super future focused in terms of our investment capabilities, our access to products that we couldn't even access at a big shop, our technology usage, our technology tools, our service model, all of those things I think are next gen.
Well, by the way, if if people go to our advisors' websites, and this is kudos for you all. It's amazingly well done, right? And so quality is number one. And the other thing I'll say about, I know that a lot of this is about leadership. One of the things that has been secret sauce for us is the relationships, that we've developed over a lot of years, whether it's Kristi or me or David. We have relationships with really, really talented people in the industry. And when we launched And Partners, we decided that our secret sauce was going to be as a collective. It wasn't going to be about the three of us. It was going to be about a bigger team with huge capabilities that we could leverage. And that's something I know that, over time you learn, hopefully, as a leader, that you can't do it all yourself. You've got to have really, really good people around you. And we have just a phenomenal team here. And I think that that's enabled our growth too.
Yeah, I think it's easy to say, we've got the right model figured out with the equity, and that's why we're attracting people. If you're looking at it from the outside in, we were talking in the pre-call about your first annual conference that we were a part of last year, and how much energy there was in the room. And I can say with the number of people, I was there for the listeners out there, and for the number of people that I met that had some personal connection to the three of you on the line or to others in leadership there, it was a real exception to meet somebody that wasn't really tightly tied into you from some point in your history, which speaks volumes to the relationships that you've built with these folks over the years.
It might speak to the fact that we aren't jerks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this is crazy and very deep, but I do think that's one of the things.
It's a low bar. We managed to step over it.
I think people who we've worked with in the past thought that we were decent humans and good business people.
It's kind of like, do what you say. People aren't going to agree with you all the time, but try to be high integrity and do what you say and say what you do, and
that gets us an audience.
Yeah.
And then, Kristi, you say all the time the secret sauce was highly I'll let you talk, but I do think that your secret sauce on top of that, hey, we got an audience with you.
Yeah, we should let her. She's actually the smart one. We should let her talk.
No, I'm good. I think you guys are saying all the right things, but I think, Stephen, just going back to that point you made initially was, I think people don't understand what a halo effect distributed ownership has. So, of course, distributing ownership to advisors means that they own a material stake in the company and they can help be part of building the firm they want to work for. But I think you also have to recognize that offering distributed ownership to home office professionals also allows you to attract and retain a level of quality that you just can't get if you're not offering ownership. So it's this wonderful thing, the way that it kind of all works together. Everyone is super aligned because of the equity, but it does the right things for advisors and creates the right incentives for home office professionals in a really beautiful way.
One of the things, as I was thinking about this interview prior to now, I was thinking about how different it is now versus 10 years ago when you were all in corporate environments where everybody was there in person. Not only a big company, but people were there physically with each other. How much does working remotely for most of the advisors and most of your operational team impact your leadership styles?
I wouldn't say most of us are remote. Like, I think interesting thing is that we work from offices here, we work from offices all over the country, but we don't really have a traditional work from home type structure. But we also don't have a bunch of rules that actually tell you whether you can or can't work from home, because we're hiring high quality, responsible people and say, hey, just get stuff done.
I will say that the three of us are often in different places.
Right.
And to David's point, like we it's not really a work from home. We have people all over the country. It's helpful to have people in all the time zones and those kinds of things. But the three of us are typically not together. And so we leverage technology in a big way. We do things like this. We, clearly are doing video conferences all the time because we work really well cohesively as a team. And when there are three people, that takes a little bit of effort, and it would have been harder to do, 5-10 years ago, I think, but it works really, I think it's pretty seamless.
Yeah, I think it's, when you think about the culture that you're building and trying to find people that fit into that culture, being able to communicate with them, whether you're in person or remotely, and having that trust factor that you speak of, super important. How would you, Kristi, how would you describe the culture that you're building at And Partners?
For me, I can kind of describe it pretty easily. It's all about putting the client first. It's about having a will to serve, and whether that is in the home office, a will to serve advisors, or with advisors, a will to serve their clients. And it's all wrapped up in what I would call, a culture of care. So you went back, and I think that in your last question, you were kind of asking us, what did we learn from COVID? Well, what I learned from COVID is that organizations that either developed or had a culture of care actually did better. They did better both in terms of sort of keeping their employees engaged, but also delivering financial results. And I think that's the kind of culture that we are creating here. It is tight-knit. It does feel like a family, but it's all about putting excellence in the clients first. And I think those three things, right? Client centricity, will to serve, and culture of care, that make us a very, very special place to work.
Yeah, I gather that when I meet with folks associated with you, there's certainly a mindset of we're in it for the clients. We're here to provide better solutions and services to all of them than we ever have. And I also gather it's a group that's growth focused. They want to continue to build their business. How do you see, when you bring in people who share an ownership and when you bring in people with that entrepreneurial mindset, what are you seeing working right now in terms of advisor growth? How are people bringing in business?
It's crazy. Like it is. That's a kind of exclamation off the top of my head. I'll give you a little bit of context. When I was at a big firm, and I would talk to friends or people that I knew in the industry who had moved to smaller firms, and they would always tell me that they were growing faster, and I would have my doubts about that because I would think, like, how could that be? Because if you're at a big firm, surely you've got the best of everything, you've got the biggest of everything, you've got the most capabilities. And so I had some doubts about it. But what I know now that I'm on this side are a couple of things. One is being smaller can help you, like, you've got to be big enough to be strong, but being smaller can help you be nimble. The industry has evolved to the point where you probably have broader capabilities than you do at a big firm. Mm-hmm. And then there's something about, as I talk to our advisors, when they're talking about how their business is growing, there's something about being an owner in the firm that I think is motivational to everybody. And it's not from like a financial standpoint. I think that most people want to really, even people that say, hey, I'm a rugged individualist, at their core, they love being part of something great. And what we have here is we have people that believe that we're building something great, and it motivates them to get out every day and tell the story. And then you have people like Kristi and her team who are the best set of investment professionals that I've ever been around in 35 years in the business, who are concierge CIOs to our clients. And it enables us to go, as I said before, up the wealth spectrum to help our advisors, like, right there hands-on to bring in new business. So it is, it's been a real eye-opener for me. It's something that I heard, probably didn't believe it until, experiencing it ourselves now.
Yeah, there's a whole wide world of things that you're maybe able to dip your toes into if you're at a larger firm, but really able to fully embrace when you move away. And I think that's the challenge for so many of them is when you go somewhere fresh and new and you're excited about there not being this crazy amount of compliance and rules to follow, where do you start? And so much of it is, from our standpoint, we come at it from a marketing bias, but so much of it is helping them tell their story. How do you draw to them a story that speaks to why they're doing what they do, why they're passionate about offering financial advice, and how do we deliver that in a way that's really professional through their website and through, on-site studio video type of productions? And how do we get the word out about that through social channels, through digital advertising? And it's a whole new world for people that they've never really thought all that much about. What's been your experience in guiding advisors down that path to embracing more of the digital marketing side of things?
I can take that one. I mean, I think our advisors are experimenting with all sorts of sort of different methods of ways to actually go out and reach and engage with their clients. And, even if I just looked at, some of the websites that you have built, one of the things that I find so interesting is there's this notion of engagement being so critical to the provision of advice, and also community building as being critical to the provision of strong advice. And I think that's really where digital can be used most effectively, not only in helping people go out and prospect for new clients, but importantly, changing the ways in which advisors can interact with the clients that they have and create a community amongst their key clients. I think it's exciting, and I think all of our advisors actually see the potential in enhancing their digital presence as a way to really create, again, higher degrees of engagement and connection between the people that they serve.
You bet. And the thing that we encourage is not so much building a community for the sake of having a lot of likes or a lot of subscribers for the vanity side of it, but more of, if you imagine some of the really good advice that your advisors and others in the industry have given over the years to their best clients, really, really meaningful advice. What if you were to share some of that with the broader audience, helping people whether they're your clients or not, and making it obvious to the people out there who may be considering you whether or not you're a good fit for them? It's hard to lose with that, and that's why we're such big fans of it. As you all think about the future of advice, where do you see this industry headed? What do you think changes in the next 5 years?
So I think one of the things that is actually truly pivotal in terms of changes in the industry is just a more holistic approach to the provision of advice. And we actually see it coming to sort of fruition here within and Partners. And I can talk about it specifically with respect to investments and sort of tax and estate considerations. It used to be back in the wires, those were considered sort of separate islands, right? Advisors were really focused on financial advice, and you needed to look to other professionals to really provide you with advice on tax and estate planning matters. And I think that has really shifted. Those two things are becoming integrated in a way that they weren't in the past. And that integration is being powered by technology, which helps, I think, equip and arm advisors to be better partners with the individuals that a client is looking to for tax and estate advice and planning. And I think that's a critical change in the industry, which is a change for the better. Probably the other thing that I really focus on a lot is just the individualization of advice. If you think about back in the day, that even just the types of investment vehicles that most people utilized, they were really sort of scale investment vehicles that weren't customized to a particular individual or their needs. That's changing. Now people don't have to invest in a mutual fund. They can invest in a separate account. They can invest in a direct index that's created just for them. And, I think that sort of level of sort of tailored, individualized, and bespoke investment advice is something that we're just going to see increase over time.
Yeah,
I think also from an industry perspective, I think this is totally parallel to what Kristi's talking about on the advice side of the business. The shape of the industry in terms of what the firms look like is also just so different from what happened in the last 25 years. And just a simple example, if I go back from 1992 to 2016, the big firms got bigger by acquiring all of the regional firms and family-owned businesses all over the industry, and it became dominated by the wires. If you look at the change that you actually have ahead now, and we didn't lead this, by the way, we led the first change, like we were the biggest acquirer from 1992 to 2016. Nobody acquired more advisors and firms than we did, and we led that revolution. Yeah. On this side, like today, 2020 to 2030, we weren't the leaders in terms of that change. We weren't the first mover, but we did recognize the trend early enough that we realized, I personally think over the next 10, 15 years, you're going to have this massive disintermediation of the big firms with people going from big to small because technology has been democratized through apps, because people like Kristi Mitchem were never available at a brokerage firm level before. Those people worked at high quality asset managers and weren't readily accessible every day to the advisor who actually was working with a client. That's a huge change in the industry. The service model will have gone from a centralized service delivery model that's outsourced to a small enough model where practices can be one-to-one again with service support people who are empowered and enabled to say yes or no. The same way compliance was centralized. The big change that we have in compliance is today supervision and compliance is so much more focused on the individual trade or the individual transaction that I personally think that that's better for the industry. I think it's better for clients long term. So anyway, I think that we are still in, I don't know, probably the third or fourth inning of a massive change in the industry from big to small.
Yeah, I think I would not underestimate, when you said 5 years, the one thing that I do believe is that the bedrock of this business is the trust that a client has in an advisor. And that's really hard to come by. And it's the most valuable thing that there is. But that's enhanced by all kinds of other things. And technology, 5 years right now is a lifetime. And I think the smart advisors that are thinking about it, it used to be that if you were comparing technology between financial firms, technology was better here because it only took 4 clicks instead of 5 clicks. That's not the case anymore. Like what the case is now, and will be more so next year, and certainly 5 years from now, is what are the tools that I have available to me that are on the cutting edge in the marketplace that my firm can make available to me to help me do a better job for my client than the other person can. That's the difference in technology now. When someone talks about technology as an advantage, it's no longer, well, it takes 4 clicks instead of 5. It's actually real and what it means to the relationship that I have with my client.
It's so funny because where we started talking about Matt Oxley, Stephen, if you go back to that period of time when John and I first started working with Matt, the Pru advisors who we had acquired were worried about keystrokes instead of mouse clicks.
Yeah.
That was the framework around, is technology better? Yeah. Today, AI, advice tools are nowhere. I mean, we don't even talk about keystrokes. We talk about capabilities.
And they change like dynamically from week to week. They get better.
Well, isn't that, it's so interesting, and you can look at it historically and say, Matt loved to share the story about people first trying to embrace email and is email compliant, and how are we ever going to get through this as an industry? And that seems like ancient history now. And you look at now who thrives in this environment. It's not just about the technology that exists, but having the willpower to get out and learn it. And how many people right now aren't staying in ahead of even the AI revolution? I mean, there's
even the other thing that's crazy on that topic is we're young.
Right.
Blows my mind. 105 practices in, $51 billion in assets, and call it run rate revenue of $370 million in run rate revenue. And if you look at our average age, almost all of our practices are multi-generational.
Mm-hmm. Almost.
And we have these teams of 30-year-old somethings, advisors, who are leading a new generation of, oh no, the performance report ought to look like this. The tool ought to act like that, which is a total uptick.
Well, it's amazing too because they care. I think that this, like going back to Kristi's secret sauce of distributed ownership, the reason that is so dynamic here is because they actually care about the whole thing. Instead of just about their practice, they want all of their partners to be better too.
Instead of being a junior part of a practice, they're actually kind of reversed itself. And there's this almost like a junior mentorship that's actually happening, I think, across our firm. I'm sure lots of others right now, where the younger advisor is sort of leading us into the future. And I think that's interesting. And the other thing that it's interesting, just talking about change, is 41%, Kristi, of our practices are women-led, which is nuts. Like, what a dynamic change.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Versus, at big firms, I spent 20 years taking diversity training courses, doing module 2, that never really improved things. And here we are now with 41% of our practice being women-led, because what we're focused on is hire great people. That's an awesome change.
It's cool to see. I'm curious. We've talked a lot about people that have fit into your culture and who've helped build this. Are there certain people that haven't been a good fit? Have you found?
And people that I love in my life, like people who are important to me, that are and have gotten older and don't have a good succession plan in place.
Yeah.
Or people who are stuck in the way things have always been.
It goes to vetting. So the answer to your question is that not a lot. I mean, we have people that we love, that we have great relationships with, that haven't joined us. And that, in a lot of cases, is a mutual decision because of the things that David talked about. But I think what it speaks to is, I'll just speak for myself as the most seasoned person on this call, right? The oldest person on here. And that is, at some point, in your life and your career, life's too short to try to put a square peg in a round hole. And one of the things that I think that I learned over time and like younger leaders can learn is that, if you take a longer point of view as a proprietor and not a transactional point of view about this might feel good today and damn the consequences, that what you realize is you make decisions and then you have to live with them. And so it's best up front to say, you know what, this person probably isn't, they're a great person. I love them, but they're probably not a great fit for this partnership that we're building because they're not completely aligned. And that's fine. And because we take a lot of time on that process, thankfully, knock wood, there haven't been a lot of people that have joined us where we say, wow, that probably wasn't a great fit. Yeah, it's the old hire hard, manage easy, I guess. But you do your homework on the front end, and it minimizes the rest. It enhances the rest of your life. Honestly,
well, it's a great lesson for not just your business, but mine and the financial advisors as well. Go ahead, Kristi.
Oh, I was just going to add. It comes down to one thing that's really simple. Like when an advisor walks in the room, I just think to myself, do I want this person to be my partner? Right? And sort of asking yourself that question is really interesting because it's one that you never really sort of reflect on when you're sitting in corporate America. Having a partner versus an employee or a peer is a really different relationship. And it's critical in terms of the way that we think about advisors and whether or not they're a fit for our organization.
I've got one final question for everybody. Same question. What are you excited about for 2026?
Mine's easy. I'm having fun working hard and having fun at work. And when I'm talking to kids who are graduating from school, worried about getting an internship, they're in college and they're basically saying, hey, can I get a job over the summer? I'm thinking to myself, goodness, you don't have to grow up so fast because a lot of your success in the workplace and your success in life is, do you show up and work hard every single day? And can you smile and have a little fun with the people that you work with? And so I feel like right now, for me, this is about as fun and as good as things get. Yeah. And I feel like I have you two and 105 teams and a bunch of other people in the HQ to thank for that.
Yeah, totally.
So.
Love it.
Yeah, I think this won't surprise David and Kristi, right? So we, early on we wrote some things down, which I don't always write down as much as I should, but we wrote these things down because we wanted to make sure that along this journey, which was clearly going to take some twists and turns, that we stayed true to where we were going. And that was, we wanted to build something great. And the idea behind that is if you do all the right things, you work really hard, put the foundation in place brick by brick with all the right people, then all the results take care of themselves. So it's really about the process. And so I go back a lot and say, okay, are we being true to this or have we deviated a few degrees? And so I agree with David, like this is the best place I've ever been. It's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And that's really cool at my age. I'm 62. It's really cool to be doing that at this point. And, let's just keep doing all the right things for clients, doing all the right things for our partners, doing nothing but tip-top high quality. And when we do that, we see the fruits of that in all the results.
Kristi?
I don't think my response is a lot different. I mean, I would say, I kind of think about it as kind of continuing to make a difference for advisors and their clients. On the investment side of the house at And Partners, as John mentioned, we like to think of ourselves as concierge CIOs, and our mission is pretty simple. It's to bring the best of institutional quality investing to retail investors. And the fact that I get to live that and do that every day is so meaningful. I was actually sitting at the table on Thursday afternoon, having cleaned up after a big Thanksgiving, and my inbox just started to fill with email messages from advisors. Thank you. Thank you for all you do for us. Thank you for all you do for our clients. And I thought, wow. I'd always gotten like a few messages on Thanksgiving from people that I worked with, but to get that number of sort of reach outs from advisors was just crazy. And by the way, John and David and, the whole leadership team was copied on these emails from advisors. They were crazy. And I thought, what a beautiful place to work. So I think when I think about what I'm looking forward to in 2026, it's just more of what I've had the opportunity and the privilege to experience in 2025.
Love it. Great perspectives. I had no doubt we would get those from you three today. And what I love about all of what you've shared here is that the enthusiasm comes through your voices. You can feel it. You like working, you like what you do, and I think that permeates through the advisor culture as well. I really appreciate all three of you being guests with us today. David, Kristi, John, we wish you the best of luck in 2026, and thanks everybody for joining us.
See you guys.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.